Everybody's got dream characters. Everybody's got a character they want to see. And sometimes, hopefully every time, the character will come to be an MCP with all the cool characters. I don't know why I'm looking off into the distance. The camera's right there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. Today we're painting everybody's favorite Corbinite, Beta Ray Bill. Man, oh man, I'm excited for this. Actually, this is the second time I painted this. So I'm going to paint again. But I don't know what colors. If anybody's got suggestions, I want to hear your suggestions in the chat. I'm reading your chats. I'm reading it. I see everybody talking about their favorite characters and how they want their favorite. I would say every character is somebody's favorite. We hope everybody gets their favorite someday. And given a long enough timeline, you will. That's a threat. Awkward. Okay, let's paint. I'm going to turn on the light. Let's kick it over to this mini cam. As I was saying, I've already painted a Beta Ray Bill. Look at him. He's looking shockingly good. Oh, bang. And we want to paint this Beta Ray Bill, but I don't really know what colors. I do know no matter what, we're painting this red cape. Oof. He's the perfect hybrid between my two favorite genres, mythical and cosmic. Yeah, he is kind of a mythical and cosmic. If I had thought about it beforehand, and I'm just going to keep bringing this up because I've been bothering Summer with this for 2 days, is if I would have thought about it sooner and prepped for it, I would have totally done a resculpt in conversion here on our Beta Ray Bill with a dope horsehair mane helmet and the Sword of Twilight from the, 2021 Beta Ray Bill series, where he has to go claim the Sword of Twilight because he lost Stormbreaker. So he goes on like an adventure with Scuttlebutt, Scourge, and Pip. And he has to defeat Surtur to get the Sword of Twilight. And I thought it'd be a fun conversion to do. Awkward angle, that's fine. We're going to do this red cape. So I just got a couple of different colors red. And I'm just going to make something up. And I'm just going to focus on the upper. Definitely got a dirty brush. That's for sure. But that's okay. I want to focus on our upper areas here. These nice stylized capes. Second brush, kind of drag and thinned. Yeah, I think that sword is really, really neat. And really cool conceptually looking at Beta Ray Bill. That 2021 run has just a really cool design. It could be a neat little conversion, but I did not think about it in time for today's stream. That's my fault. So if we're doing red cape, we need the red cape. I think that red cape is super iconic. But what color? I saw somebody say evil Beta Ray Bill. So we could do blacks which of course would look good. Really need to clean my brush. Got them little bits. And if we get to it, I'm gonna do my golds different than normal. No gold paint. Just totally avoid the gold paint today. Add some sanguine to the shadows. Can't see this, I'm so sorry. Now it's time to ask me questions. Cyborg battle damage one? That'd be cool. I'm in. Let's get a little painterly here. Just stretch that paint out. Just stretch it out. Just getting some of that sanguine color in the shadows. Scroll green. Oh, we're gonna make scroll array bill. I'm gonna make everybody vote. Vote for their favorite. Oh, the struggles of painting on stream. Gotta do it upside down, inside out, topsy-turvy. So much gymnastics. Somebody's coming through the wall. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but sounds like our neighbors are coming through the wall. Secret 911. I've been working on Web Warriors box. Any tips for doing Spider-Man's webs? First off, can everybody see the miniature good? Just want to make sure. Spider-Man webs. I did my Spider-Man in 45 minutes. And what I did was, I think we have a video of this summer, right? I think we did a video of it. But I Zenith primed my Spider-Man. And then I highlighted Spider-Man. You can go warm highlights or so like orange or pink. Actually, both are very good highlights for Spider-Man. If you look in comics, you can see evidence for both that work, depending on the colorist who's working on the current run. And then I used a blue wash to shade, and I focused it into the webs. Blue makes a fantastic shade for red. That's why we use this sanguine on this cape just now. Sanguine has a bit of blue in it. Sanguine's a little on the purple side. Purple's made when you mix red and blue together. When we deep shade this cape, it will be with blues. And that's all I did for my Spider-Man. It was very simply a matter of adding blue to the webs. So I didn't try to pin wash it. I sort of more precision washed. What I like to call controlled washes. Might get a little messy right here because I'm on camera and I'm using my little gimbal that makes it actually difficult to paint. See how we're just starting to block that in? All I'm doing is putting red on the top looking down, sanguine on the bottom, using that zenith prime as a guide to help control it. And then I'm just stretching back. I'm not really even two brush blending. I'm just stretching back to create long, smooth streaks. And just slowly working myself into where I want to be with the paint job. We're going to add some blue to the mix and go deep on the undersides. And these can be perfect straight lines. It works wonderful. I'm just bumping everything. When was the last time I was on camera? I have forgotten how to do this. This is one where we should move the camera today. There's so much cape. I'm so glad we did this pose. We talk about poses sometimes on these paint streams and sort of the philosophy of how we make miniatures and stuff like that. And, you know, there's a lot of comic book cover poses that don't make great miniatures. And we're always kind of looking at different comic book covers and different panels from comics when we're working on stuff. And this is one I was super excited to work on. And I own a copy of Thor 337, and it's such an iconic cover. And if you look at it, it doesn't quite work in 3 dimensions, which is fine. Comics aren't meant to be drawn in 3 dimensions, so they don't draw it in 3 dimensions. It's always the rule of cool, and it's also comic books, right? They're trying to get 32 pages in a month done. Adding a little orange to my red. Applying streak. Not worried about blending today. I'm just kind of painting. Just letting it happen. But I was like, we can totally just do like a version of this pose. And so it had to be tweaked just a touch to get to work. And it just lends itself to the character, the history of that character. And I just absolutely adore it. Paint by imagination. Yeah, I like to say paint with jazz. What was that one? That is a very intimidating cape to paint. AMG flexing their cape tech. We're always trying to improve and get better at everything we do. Not just at work, but just even at home, right? I always try to be a better person. But we're always trying to improve and develop and learn from things that we've done in the past. And, you know, making miniatures is not an easy endeavor. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of learning materials, especially for us. Learning hard plastic is a material that is not forgiving in any way, shape, or form. You need to understand things like undercuts and pass-throughs, and a bunch of other technical jargon nonsense that I will not bore you with. But we're just going to paint with art here. I'm just going to put some blue down in there. But you can learn and grow and develop, right? The first miniatures we did, and everything after is just a learning. Where can we go? Where can we push? Why did this work? How do we make that work even better? How do we take that idea and take it to the next step? It's a beautiful and important part of life and just things. And hopefully right here, this is your moment to remove that intimidation, right? That's why we do things like the paint streams. We want to remove some of the intimidation and hurdles. Get me talking about the philosophy of hobby painting. I can go on for hours and hours and hours. I'll go on longer than Summer's going to allow me to be on screen, because Summer has meetings. I do too, technically, but I'll skip mine. Summer laughs. I'm going to keep the yellow off the lower folds. I'm going to keep the yellow focused on the upper folds. I'm going to let the colors desaturate as they go down. So this will continue being that pink color. Upper colors will be the more hot, warm orange. But personally for me, like, I believe this is a lot of the philosophy of the Worthy painting competition, right? It's like, I believe we're all just on different points of the same path. And, you're learning, you're growing, you're developing skills. And that's what's important. This is a hobby miniatures game. So, straight out the box, you got a hobby, because, we don't build them for you. And as long as you have fun in the hobby, you're succeeding in doing it correctly. Don't let anybody tell you you're hobbying wrong or anything like that. If you're painting your miniature and you're having fun, then you are doing it absolutely correct. You're doing it that's for your enjoyment, and that's the most important part. And then you get to play the game with it, which is even more fun. And then that's when social constructs come in, and you got to make an arrangement with another person, and you got to have all the social contracts and agreements come into play. But for just painting it, it's just for you. You can be as sloppy, or as long as you're having fun and learning, that's all that matters. Summer, do you know what my favorite miniature I've ever seen painted is?
I do not.
Does anybody know? Nobody knows? My favorite miniature I've ever seen painted. This is the one you just finished.
I did that.
You did, I know, I said it before. Will we ever do an MCU-inspired Stormbreaker? I don't know. Given a long enough timeline, you never know. And we can't talk about the future, because the future is so unpredictable, except for what's on our schedule, which I can't talk about. I can't talk about things that we might do. But, you know, Chick and I always said, on a long enough timeline, we'll do everything. And there ain't no think we ain't thunk. So we're gonna add a little red there, stretch it out, just pull it toward the back of the cape. We're not worried about perfect blends, we're just worried about getting color. And it's gonna look great. Oh my God, I love Throg. I love Throg. Definitely have more hobby hours than playtime, and I'm 100%. I have more hobby hours than playtime. You know, global pandemic being what it is, I got to paint a whole bunch. But I am starting to get more games back in, so that's super exciting. You know, outside of the normal play at work that I get to do. We're going to take this up one more time. I think this is a pretty fast cape. That's a pretty fast cape for 15 minutes work. And now we got to see how fast we can go on our stuff. Add a little white. I don't normally add pure white. I'm going to add just a touch of pure white. This will desaturate it. White and black are all desaturator colors. And that's too much. So I'm going to put a little orange back in there. And I just want just a couple little zazzy lines. Just to warm up that very, very top edge. Just to give it the tightest little line. I mean, it's a hobby miniatures game. You kind of automatically have more playtime or paint time than playtime. You got, I mean, you know, you got to spend, let's just say spend an hour in miniature, which is fast. It's very fast. It's totally doable. But you spend an hour in miniature, you got a roster of 10. That's 10 hours. The game only takes like an hour and a half. Sorry, I need a drink right there. Woof, parched. Talking too much. Can they see? Can everybody see what I'm doing? Oh, yeah.
I guess I shouldn't answer for our friends because I have the best view in the house other than you.
I do have the best view of the house. It's right here. Do we have a poker around here to open bottles? I feel like Schick brought a poker in here once, but I can't ever see it. Is he carrying that in his pocket? That seems dangerous. I need a poker. All right, we're gonna paint something else while we look for a poker. I got into painting before pandemic, but the pandemic got me into this game and greatly expanded my painting. Hey, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. It's very exciting. Ooh, you found a poker. It seems like the current releases are easier to assemble than the first year wave. Why is that? A lot of that is just knowledge of the material. It's literally just, and Tony Konachek is this the first time you've ever watched my paint stream? Because I swear I've asked for you in every paint stream, you've never come in here in like 2 years.
I think he misses B.
He misses it. Tony Konachek, just the best. Yeah, it's a lot of learning and growing, developing understanding of the material. The material is not easy to understand. You know, I see a lot of questions like, well, why is this cut like this? Why is this cut like this? You know, Star-Lord's head's in 3 pieces, but you know, I've seen this other miniature made by another company and the head's not in 3 pieces, so why would Star-Lord's head be in three pieces? And really, the answer to that is a lot of the design of the miniature. If you look at Star-Lord's head, you can actually see why it's cut in 3 pieces or 4 pieces. Like somebody who is familiar with the material and the process can probably look at that and just be like, oh, see right there, this is why. And a lot of that is just design of the helmet. And, you know, the helmet was not designed by us. That helmet was designed by Marvel. And we have to try to maintain where we can those important features. And so like that helmet just has very specific things that needed to be maintained for the IP, and they created an undercut. And undercuts are very, very bad. You cannot have an undercut. You know? Yeah, and there's another one. Seeker is like it's just learning and developing and growing and working with our factory on what they can pull off. It's a lot of different things go into making a miniature, and it might not be as clear cut as you may think. Summer and I was actually having an amazing conversation earlier about sometimes a decision is made and it's very easy to sit on the other side of that decision and be like, well, I would have done it this way. And that's great. But at the same time, there might be information that you don't have, so you can't really say with all certainty what you would do. Because you don't always have all the information. And that's okay. I don't have all the information a lot of times. That's why I go bother Tony and Marco and Evan. I do a whole lot of, I want to make this. Can we do it? And they're like, whoa, settle down there, Turbo. You got to do this first. And I'm like, okay, fine. Fine. I will do that first. I'll move this. How did Ula get chosen as his box buddy? Seems pretty... I don't remember exactly how that conversation went down. A lot of that stuff is decided at different stages. We like obscure miniatures or characters. I think it's super important to bring those to the game for a lot of different reasons. So sometimes it's just an idea. Sometimes it's just makes sense. Sometimes it's just, you know, it feels right for what we're doing. Once again, it's one of those, it's very easy to say how to do it different, but there's a whole many discussions of why it was done this way. Then you put Ghost Rider on a bike. Yep. Then you put Ghost Rider on a bike. Time to do some metal. I feel like I start out with like, we're not going to do normal colors, and now I feel like I'm just doing normal colors. Because I want to paint this gold, and I have a plan for it. Also, I'm not going to paint the shadows with silver. I'm going to leave the shadows black. Cyborg battle damage. I really would like to sculpt that instead of just paint that. But I think we can probably give him some battle damage. Did I say no metallic? I don't remember saying no metallic. Can I paint a beta red build in 1 hour? I mean, I can paint it. The question is, will it be good? Would be a cool thing. It would be a cool thing to sculpt. I totally agree. I just don't. I have a prime measure. I'm not gonna sculpt over that. I have to get another one. Maybe I got one stashed somewhere. Ignore the shadows. Let the shadows be black. When metallic goes in the shadow, it becomes not metallic. What's my opinion on true metallic metal versus non-metallic metal? I use non-metallic metal quite a bit. Not in sort of the same traditional ways that you might see. But anytime I'm painting armor, like if it's blue, it's basically non-metallic metal. I think it's all personal preference. And if it's what you love, it's what you love. I think true metallic takes a little more, or non-metallic metal takes a little more deeper understanding of light. But that said, the best true metallic metal, which I love, incorporates the philosophies in non-metallic metal. So if you go back, I have a whole bunch of videos. Check out Main Stravaganza. If you haven't been, you've been missing out. I got a couple of videos about true metallic metal, and it actually uses non-metallic metal philosophy. So going down to matte or opaque shadow in my metallics, using bounce lights, stuff like that. It's all the same philosophies, just applied a different way. I like the way true metallic metal looks on a miniature, personally. But that's me. I have a tactful and calming way of answering questions that oozes a Bob Ross-like influence. I absolutely was a fan of Bob Ross. 100%. Growing up where I grew up in the time I grew up, definitely a huge, I don't want to say huge, I think words like that have lost their meaning, an impact on me, and just reminding me that art is accessible. And for a long time in my life, I kind of forgot art was accessible, and I got a little lost, and that's okay. But it's kind of why I love miniature painting so much. It's like such an accessible type of art, right? And I've been doing miniatures a long time. I think my first miniature, I've told the story before, my first miniature was some derpy pewter wizard purchased from like one of those roadside knick-knack shops, and I tried painting it. I failed at it totally, but that's okay. Failing is not a failure. Not learning about why you failed is a failure. So just totally messed it up and didn't understand it, but I absolutely loved it. And sort of just kept going, but treat it like a hobby. And it's just one of those super accessible, like anybody can pick up a brush and put some paint on it and have a good time. And learning a few simple techniques, like learning a few simple techniques, you'll have something down in no time, and be enjoying yourself. I'm new to painting. Our wash is bad for Calensi. I don't know. I've used my Calensi sables for everything from metallic paints to washes to inks. Clean them. Don't dip them in the ferrule. That's the big thing. Just don't dip your brushes down to the ferrule. If you need to know what the ferrule is, I'll explain it. Just say, hey, what's the ferrule? I don't understand that word. I'm getting some inks out. Let's do some inks. Serious, what's your take on painting MCP and sub-assemblies? Is how they're going to be painted taken into account during modeling? We do take a lot of consideration into the overall enjoyment of painting, but we also don't want to get in the way of making something cool. This miniature right here is a little more complex to paint, right? You have a huge cape and this giant lightning bolt. His chest is crunched up. So it's going to present some questions. I don't like to use the word challenges or obstacles. It's questions. It's asking you a question, right? It's like when you're playing a game, your opponent asks you questions that you have to answer. The scenario asks you questions and you have to answer it. And the terrain will ask you questions that you have to answer. If the terrain and the scenario and the opponent didn't ask you any questions, then what's the point? Painting miniatures the same way. This one poses some questions. How am I going to paint the torso? How am I going to get that lightning? How am I going to work that cape with it all interacting the way it does? Now we could do the starfish, which is some very old. If you go back to the 80s and 90s, there's a lot of starfish miniatures. It's everything on a flat plane. And those are very easy to paint because everything's presented square on. So we don't want to do that. We want to push what a miniature is. We want to push the design of miniatures and kind of go places that is unique to Atomic Mass Games. And so you have to ask yourself, should I paint this in sub-assemblies? Looking at the box and kind of doing an analytical survey over what you're comfortable with is super important. I think in total, I've in 35 years or something of painting miniatures, I think I've painted something in sub-assemblies once, and it was like literally just leaving a shield off. But anymore, I just kind of paint, and I have a philosophy of if my brush can't reach it, you can't see it. But that's me. That's purely me. And it's also, I'm painting for myself. If I'm painting a studio paint job, that changes the other thing, right? Is, you have to ask yourself, what's the destiny of the miniature? And sometimes the destiny is just being painted and put on the table and looking dope. So that means I don't have to worry about stuff. I can leave behind a shield black. I can leave under the cape a little unpainted because it's just for the tabletop. It's fun and it's going to look cool no matter what. So I ask myself a lot of questions. Sinister and Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah, I painted my Sorcerer Supreme completely assembled. Do I regret that? Absolutely not. I thought it presented some interesting challenges for sure. But I totally get why somebody would be like, I need to paint this in sub-assemblies. So there's no shame in that at all. Sometimes you just need sub-assemblies. Sometimes you just do the old Hell's Bells it. Just get in there and just let the paint fall where it may. I've gotten much calmer about my painting philosophy as I've gotten older too. I don't feel the need to have all these like super opinions. Let the paint fall where it may. Let's do something fun and happy. It's no time to be grumpy, right, Summer? A wasted emotion. I agree. A wasted emotion. I want to go find joy. Well, now we can get into discussion about expectations. How something failing to meet your expectations is the onus is on you for that, not the other way around. Especially when you create false expectations inside your own mind. Woo! This movie has to change my life or it's the worst movie ever. Well, you've set those expectations. Not the director. Little black mixed in the blue, shading it up, that's what you do. Oh, so many questions I totally missed. If you're painting just for tabletop, do you go above and beyond for the bases as you would for a comp? Oh, for tabletop? I have a recipe for every single tabletop army I have. And I write that recipe down, I do that recipe, and I make sure that the bases are cool. There's an old adage from the 80s, says faces and bases. Paint a cool base, paint a cool face, you got a cool miniature. So I think bases are super important. They're kind of the frame of the painting, right? You take a super fancy painting, you take out a frame, it's just a poster, you know? So I like having a cool frame, and it's something about the frame really brings it all together, especially when you paint that black rim on there. Oh my God, it's just the best part. That's the most cathartic moment. It's like when everything comes together. So I just kind of have my bases that I like to do, and then I just kind of hit that mark every time. For competition is just a different discussion altogether. You know, you just have to paint differently for competition. It's just different. Everything has to be considered for a multitude of reasons. You have to make sure you're telling a story. You have to make sure you're delivering a consistent painting quality across the miniature, you need to be sure that the what am I talking about? The process and application of all those techniques are delivered on. So you can't just half-ass a competition miniature base. You really need to deliver on those. And that can be just if you do minimal work, right? I'm not saying you have to do a giant plinth. I'm just saying whatever you do, you have to deliver to the best of your ability. And no one else's, just yours. It's kind of the way we set up the worthy. The first part of the worthy judging is you against yourself, not against others, so you can see kind of where you're at on your path. I find that to be the most important part of being able to learn and grow is, kind of feeling out where you stand and getting a barometer where you want to go. So the worthy is definitely set up for that. But I said the words, I can't judge you for what you didn't do, but only for what you did do. So if you didn't do a bunch of freehand all over Beta Ray Bill and somebody else did, but their freehand is sloppy or kind of a mess, but your cape is just impeccable and simple, I'm going to judge you on your simple but impeccable cape, and I'm going to judge them on a sloppy freehand. Oh boy. Colored rims for different affiliations. You do what you want, Seeker. Sending me in a spiral. No, I missed most of the stream. No, I love this sculpt so much. Can't wait to get. Yeah, I absolutely adore this sculpt. How do Marty Party 100? How does one go about getting a cool job like you've got here? I think that's a different. I think that's a different stream. That's a different. It's a path. It's a path. It's a lot of hard work and sacrifice. It's a lot of hard work and sacrifice. Things don't come easy. And you got to ask yourself what you want to do. What do you want to do with your life? And then you got to ask yourself how you're going to get there. Can I tell some of the story? I can tell some of the story. Is everybody interested in the story? Some of you interested in the story? For a long time, forever, I wanted to be an artist. And I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't know how anybody can actually have that job. It didn't make sense to me how it was a job. So I spent many, many years not knowing what that meant. Like I just want to get paid to paint stuff. I just want to get paid to make stuff. I just want to create stuff. I just want to not work in a factory. I just wanted to do something creative. But I didn't know what it meant, and I didn't really have a goal or a path. And so I waffled and I did a bunch of stuff. I was a restaurant manager. I worked in different factories. I even worked in a big office building once. Done all kinds of stuff. I worked in a wood mill. Like I'm a sawyer. Do you know I'm a sawyer? I used to run a saw. And then one day it just kind of felt like this little hobby I was doing kind of presented an opportunity. And so I just started asking all the questions, and I started putting in all the failures, trying stuff, messing it up, painting it again, getting feedback from those much better than I am. And I pursued aggressively a path. And, it didn't happen for a little bit. But I just kept working and making my sacrifices and making myself a person that was reliable, a person that took direction. That's a key one. That's a big one. I'm going to give you right now. Being a person that can take direction gets you so far. Being willing to listen to people and take direction is such a huge and vital part of breaking into a career path like becoming a miniature painter or any creative endeavor. You have to be able to work on a team, and you have to listen to that team and respect and understand when somebody on that team is just straight up dropping the best knowledge ever, even though it's contrary to what you thought at first. So, I just did all those things. And I just kept working and kept getting opportunities and always making my deadlines or faster. Always being available whenever. Not being taken advantage of, because no one wants to do that. Do not work for, never work for exposure, but just being available and being easy to work with and taking direction. And those were huge things. And I kept doing it. And then Atomic Mass started to happen. And we put this little studio together. And it was a fun little opportunity. And now look at us. I don't know if he's going to get totally painted, but he's going to be darn close, Summer. He's going to be real close to done. I'm going really fast right now. I keep getting distracted by fun story times. I apologize to everybody. You want to know what my dream job is, though? I always tell my kid, I'm like, you need to become a movie director. And I want to be in, specifically horror movie director. And I want to be the herald of doom in every one of his horror movies. Do you know what that role is in a horror movie? It's like always the kids are like, we're gonna go camping, or we're gonna go to this, and like they're driving and they gotta get gas, and there's the crazy old guy, and he's like, you can't go to those woods. Those woods are haunted, I tell you. People go there, they never come back. I want to be the prophet of doom in every horror movie that my kid makes. He won't make horror movies, but that's my dream. That's my dream. You want to be oh man, wouldn't it be cool to be a Foley artist? It's like, what'd you do today? I smashed coconuts together and made clopping noises.
You sound like a horse now?
Just a recurring role, different character every time, but always the Herald of Doom. Teal and black, just blended over top of this metallic color. That's just life right there. Somebody asked earlier what I do for the gold. It's silver, and then I just did some. It's actually a flush wash. One of these flush washes from Scale 75 and some art ink, yellow ink mixed together. Now I'm just going to go deeper with the flush wash and just paint that on. It's quick and easy gold. It's just 2 washes over silver, and you have gold, and then I'll highlight it. And it looks super good. It's super fast, super tabletop-y. Just as long as this flush wash has a lot of red in it, it works really, really well. Especially against characters like this that has those big splashes of blue across their costumes. Super, super, super good. So, just a great little technique I picked up a while back from a good friend of mine. Was doing a version of this, and I just kind of kept playing with my own recipes and versions and got what I like out of it. You know, if you're not new here, if you're new here, you will understand I'm not a big fan of recipes. I can give you a recipe, it's not going to always do you any good. You need to learn to paint, not what it's how to paint, not what to paint around here. And sometimes that just means getting in there and just making a mess and messing it up. There's always the next miniature. There's always the next miniature. Big washes, just let that dry. It's going to be great. We're going to paint right over it later. I'm so close to getting done with Beta Red Bill, cause he's number 1A. Alaskan oil rig. I've never worked on an Alaskan oil rig. Done a lot of crazy jobs. Thanks for this cool story. You deserve a love rock. Oh, thanks. I don't know if I deserve anything. I've done my best to be responsible and here for my team, and my team matters the most to me out of everything. So without them, I'm nothing. Gotta take care of them. I'm just a boy trying to do the best I can. Any tips for OSL with the lining? I don't think we're going to get to OSL. We can do a little bit. I'm going to try to do a little tiny bit. So the big thing with OSL, where are we at? Let's figure out where we're at real quick. I need to highlight the silver space pants and the gold. I need to highlight the costume and the skin. Other than that, I think he's pretty much done. I know Summer, I'm going to try to finish up real quick. I apologize. Summer's getting impatient with me. He's got the little feathers here. I like doing these like with a touch of blue and then building into white. It just brings them all back around. So we'll let that dry. So OSL. The big thing is everybody kind of blows it out and overdoes it. We want to think about where the lighting is closest. You're going to have a streak right here is your best zone, right across the top. I'm going to take a little bit of blue. Now, normally I'd totally finish the miniature. I would totally finish the miniature. Contrast type paints over silver sometimes or never. I just basically did it with washes. Contrast type paints are just washes, so we just did a wash over silver. Worked great. So we just want to put like let's just do a little sketching. I want this to be super thin. I want it to be a little translucent. I don't want to just glop paint on. I just want a couple little. Let's just mark some spots out where light would be. If you know how to blend, you can do a little blending. We're just going to start building in a line. Right now it's going to be straight. And we'll start working it out. And a lot of times, the best non-metallic metal, or non-metallic, the best OSL is not necessarily the most realistic. It doesn't gotta be super realistic. Sometimes you just gotta make it look cool. So this is gonna be super tricky just because of the gimbal. I want to slowly build in this color. I don't want to get aggressive. I want to start super light and just kind of establish where I think the light would look the best. Maybe right across this temple. And you can be really sketchy with this too, as long as it's being thin at first and building into the brightness. That's the main thing. Keeping focus on where that light will be. This is just a lightning blue I just found. I just grabbed kind of whatever. Focus on muscle groups. Second brush is good for cleaning up mistakes. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. The metallic is going to shine more reflective than the flesh. Is that translating at all? Can you see it? The other thing I like to do, because like something like this is lightning, I want to pinch in some little jagged lines and dots to show kind of an erratic amount of light hitting and not have smooth lights. And I'm just going to slowly build up where I think this is important. This lets the light kind of be living and alive. Give it that property of it's moving, it's crackling, it's ecstatic. Did you consider yellow lightning instead of the blue look? I mean, we can still make it yellow. The blue looks really good against red. We could do yellow. It could still be switched to yellow very easily by taking our inks. Maybe a touch of orange. And just bumping this up into the yellows. Very simply. And we're just going to keep building and building until we're happy with it. That's really up to you when. That is your call. It's your miniature. Not mine. I mean, this one's mine, but the one you're going to paint's yours. You know what I'm saying. And sometimes that off-white underneath yellow looks even better. So, switching midstream, that's cool. I'm down. I'm here to party. I'm just going to keep working it. Blend it out, but don't let it get too out of control. Just focus on where the lightning would fall. Kind of a central zone. Like create that line. Reestablish that line just like you see on the miniature. And then of course once you paint this yellow, it's going to look even better. And as I just keep pushing into this, it's just going to look better and better and better as I grow it out. And like I said, I like doing little crackles and zings for this kind of effect, especially when lightning is involved. Create areas of intensity and life. Do like little slashes. Now I'm just going to keep playing with this until it's the way I want it. Does that make sense? Did that answer the question? I think it answered the question. We're just going to go ahead and establish this as yellow lightning. And then I'm probably going to get kicked off stream. So you better hurry up and ask all your questions that you got. I'm going to finish this up. Summer, I got meetings we got to go to. There's always no. I mean, I'll skip mine. You going to skip yours? That's what I thought. You know me, I'll sit here and paint with these folks all day. Yeah, a little homage to the classic. There you go. Let's see here. Not bad for an hour. Not bad for an hour. Double beta ray. Double beta ray. Oh, I know. Heck, we just did it. Why not? Why not? It's also, I think that's also just an interesting point where like you can change midstream with paint. Like, I've definitely learned how to paint very thin paints, which allows me to course correct better. The thinner the paint, the less you're gumming up details. I've never stripped a miniature. I just paint over them. I'll even take a miniature from like 20 years ago and just repaint over it. Works out just fine. So it's fun to just shift gears sometimes. It's also just fun as like an exercise to be like, hey, I was painting blue, but I didn't think about yellow. Let's try to switch this blue to yellow and see what happens. So we did it. So there we go. Magic and lightning. Those two things can be pretty much any color you want. I mean, anything can be any color you want. It's your world. It's your rainbow. Every color is beautiful. Don't be mad. They're just beautiful colors. All right, you ready? Are we done? Thanks for joining us today. We got a little philosophical, but we also painted a Beta Ray Bill in an hour. I got like maybe 15, 20 minutes worth of work, and it'll be ready for a tabletop. So that's not bad. Just remember, every Tuesday and Wednesday here at Twitch, you can check us out for painting and games. We do games 1 month or 1 week out of the month. Last week was that week, so you got a couple weeks, then we'll do some more games. But for all the latest news, information, and announcements coming from Atomic Mass Games for all of our games, you should check us out over on Twitter and or Instagram. Probably both. They're both pretty good. So until next time, have a good one. Go be the heroes you want to be. Bye. Now's the time when I sing the song that we go out to, and I don't know the words 'cause I'm making them up.